Valleys for life, though every single day, helping us to grow, to learn and to share. Valleys for life on God's word so bright, helping us to be our best. Whoa, Nollywood kids, Nollywood kids, values for life.
Watchman, what is all this mess? Did the wind blow through your cupboards?
It's not a mess, Adefunke. I'm making picture frames out of old cartons and bottle caps.
Picture frames out of cardboard and trash?
Not trash, treasure. With some creativity and with what God has already given me, I am making gifts for the children at the hospital.
Oh, that's actually really sweet.
You see, being resourceful is using what you have, not waiting for what you wish you had. And when you trust God with your little ideas, He makes them meaningful.
So, even if I have only one sock, a paper clip and a leaf, I could do something cool?
If anyone could, it'd be you. Speaking of which, let's talk about someone in the Bible who used what he had and trusted God to make it work. Gideon was chosen by God to lead the Israelites into battle. But guess what? They were terribly outnumbered.
Ooh, I love a good underdog story. How many soldiers did Gideon have?
Well, at first, 32,000. But God said, too many. He didn't want them thinking they won the battle by their own power.
Wait, God wanted less soldiers? That doesn't make sense.
It does to God. So He trimmed it down to 10,000. Then just 300 against thousands of Midianites.
300? Oh, dear feathers. That's a disaster waiting to happen.
Not with God. He gave Gideon a plan. Each soldier carried a torch in a jar and a trumpet. When they broke the jars and blew the trumpet, the enemy panicked and ran.
So, no swords, no chasing, just jars and noise? Oh, Watchman, now I'm interested. I interrupted a lot. Can you please tell the story all over? I want to listen properly.
Sure. A long time ago in the land of Israel, there lived a man named Gideon. He was not a warrior. He wasn't famous. He wasn't even sure he was brave. But God chose him. Yes, him. To do something extraordinary. You see, the Israelites were in big trouble. Their land was under attack by the Midianites. These enemies came like a swarm of locusts, stealing crops, ruining fields, and scaring everyone. The Israelites were so frightened that many of them hid in caves. One day, while Gideon was being resourceful and secretly threshing wheat in the winepress, that's like doing laundry in the bathtub, so no one sees you, an angel of the Lord appeared. "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior," the angel said. Gideon looked around. Who, me? He wasn't mighty. He didn't even feel brave. But God saw what Gideon could become, not just what he was. God told Gideon that he would lead the Israelites to defeat the Midianites. Gideon was nervous. He asked God for signs to be sure this was real. And guess what? God patiently gave him all the signs he needed. So Gideon gathered an army. 32,000 men came to fight. That sounds strong, right? But God had a surprising idea. "You have too many men," God said. "If you win with this army, Israel will think they did it without me." So Gideon told anyone who was scared to go home. 22,000 left. 10,000 remained. But God said, "Still too many." This time, God told Gideon to take the men to a river and watch how they drank water. Some cupped water with their hands and lapped it like dogs. Others knelt down to drink straight from the stream. God chose only 300 who lapped water with their hands, just 300 soldiers. Now Gideon's army was tiny, and the Midianites were massive, covering the valley like sand on the seashore. But Gideon trusted God. That very night, God gave Gideon a resourceful plan. Each man was given 3 things: a trumpet, a clay jar, and a torch. No swords, no shields, no chariots. At midnight, they crept to the edge of the enemy camp. At Gideon's signal, they blew their trumpets, smashed their jars, and held up their torches, shouting, "A sword for the Lord and for Gideon." The Midianites were startled awake. They looked around and saw lights and heard sounds from every direction. Thinking they were surrounded by a mighty army, they panicked. In the confusion, they turned on each other. Some ran away, others fought their own friends by mistake. Not one Israelite had to lift a sword that night. The victory belonged to God alone. Gideon used what God gave him: jars, torches, and trumpets. Sometimes big problems are solved with simple tools and a whole lot of faith. Even when the numbers seemed scary, Gideon trusted God's plan. We don't always need to understand everything. We just need to follow with courage, using the resources that God gives us. Gideon didn't start as a hero, but he became one by listening to God. That means you, yes you, can do great things too. God showed them and us that He doesn't need a lot to do a lot. He just needs faith and obedience. In the great animal jungle, King Lion announced a challenge. Create shelter using only what you can find in the jungle today. The animals rushed off. Elephants stacked big logs, monkey tied vines, but poor little chameleon, he only found leaves, mud, and a few sticks. But chameleon didn't complain. He prayed, thought hard, and built a cozy, leafy dome that stayed cool even in the hot sun.
No way!
Yes way! The king was impressed. You used what you had well, he said. You made something special with so little.
That's resourcefulness, just like you and your frames. You know, I've been wishing I had feathers like peacocks or legs like cheetahs. But maybe I should thank God for my gifts. Even my big beak.
Yes, God gives us exactly what we need for the purposes He designed us for. Let's appreciate what we have and what God can do through it.
So I don't need to wait for fancy paints or gold glitter. I can use old feathers, seeds, or buttons to make something beautiful.
Exactly. God doesn't ask for what we don't have. He asks us to trust Him with what we do have.
Oh, well, I've got a beak full of ideas already.
The Bible tells us, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness." 2 Corinthians 12, verse 9.
So, even if I feel like I'm not enough, God's strength can still shine through me.
That's right. Just trust Him and stay creative.
I can't help. I forsake God myself.
That's what happens when you try to drink the last drop of juice by sticking your whole head in the bottle.
At that funke, there was barely any left. Why didn't you just drink a glass?
Well, Naomi, when it comes to lemon soda, every drop counts.
You know, this actually brings up something important. Using what we have carefully, whether it's juice, paper, water, or even our time. It's a way of being responsible.
You mean like not wasting?
Exactly. And when we use resources wisely, we show God that we are thankful for what He has given us.
In that case, I'll be careful what I put to waste. Now I'm presenting Queen of the Rubbish Realm. I shall bow before Her Majesty of Leftovers.
Your real crown is literally an almost empty paper type at the funke.
And I decree it's a very resourceful crown. Welcome to the Values Craft Challenge.
Ooh, what's the challenge?
Simple. Take what most people would throw away and turn it into something creative, useful, or beautiful. It's not junk, it's potential.
Like turning an old sock into a puppet.
Exactly. God gave us creativity. And when we use it well, even with scraps, we reflect Him. When we waste, we ignore the value in what we have.
Then, I declare today a day of royal recycling. Let every sock become a snake, every box a castle.
Well said, Queen Adefunke. And on that note, I think it's time for a story, one from the Bible, about a woman who used what she had with care and faith. There once was a widow whose husband had died. The man her husband owed came knocking, demanding payment, and threatening to take her 2 sons as slaves if she couldn't pay. She cried out to the prophet Elisha, and Elisha asked her, "What do you have in your house?"
Let me guess, something small?
Exactly. Nothing, she said, except a little jar of oil. So Elisha gave her a strange instruction. Go borrow as many empty jars as you can from your neighbors. Then go inside your house, shut the door, and start pouring oil into the jars. And she did. She poured and poured, and the oil kept flowing. Every jar she borrowed was filled. Only when there were no more jars left did the oil stop. She sold the oil, paid her debt, and had enough left to live on.
So her little jar became a miracle?
Yes, because she used it carefully and obeyed. God multiplied what she had.
I think I'm going to make a little herb garden from leftover spice seeds.
And I'm starting a Save the Scraps club. We'll turn our kitchen leftovers into compost.
That's the spirit. God gives us enough. It's our job to not waste it. Small things become powerful when placed in God's hands.
Hi everyone! Today's memory verse is from Luke 16 verse 10. If you're faithful in little things, you will be faithful in large ones. For example, if your parents have bought you ordinary clothes, shoes, or pencils, and they see that you have taken care of them well over a long period of time, that's another way of saying you're faithful with your belongings. They may then trust you that you will be faithful in taking care of the more valuable ones too. So, let's learn this verse. So the verse starts with, if you're faithful in little things, you can squeeze your body into something like this. do it with me. If you're faithful in little things. Now let's do the second part. It goes, you will be faithful in large ones. Luke 16 verse 10. Now let's do it together. If you're faithful in little things, you will be faithful in large ones. Luke 16 verse 10. Let's try that faster. If you're faithful in little things, you will be faithful in large ones. Do you know what? I think you may be able to do that even faster. If you're faithful in little things, you'll be faithful in large ones. If you're faithful in little things, you'll be faithful in large ones. Now let's visit the story of the animal apartment.
In the heart of a bustling city stood an apartment building full of unusual tenants, animals who lived like people. On the ground floor lived an elderly turtle who always turned off the taps and reused his water to keep his plants alive. Above him lived a graceful cat who repurposed her old clothes into patchwork rugs. Next came a loud but punctual rooster who only used his phone's flashlight instead of turning on all the lights. And at the top floor lived Zizi the squirrel, young and full of ideas but careless with her resources. She kept her air conditioner running all day, even when she was out. She let food spoil in the fridge, tossed paper after a single use, and streamed videos until the Wi-Fi begged for mercy. Then came the week the building had to shut down its power and water. The bills were too high. The other animals were puzzled until they realized Zizi's habits were draining everyone's share. Feeling terrible, Zizi apologized. But instead of blaming her, the others offered to teach her. The turtle showed her how to reuse water. The cat taught her how to sew. The rooster helped her create a morning schedule to conserve energy. In time, Zizi became a model of responsibility, creative, grateful, and careful with every resource.
So, if I take care of small things well, God sees I can handle more.
Exactly. God multiplies what we honor and use wisely. Let's all sing to that.
A little jar, a little light, a careful heart that does what's right, not too much, not too small. God can use it all. He loves a careful heart that doesn't waste a part. From leftover crumbs to borrowed jars, God shines through who we are. So turn off the tap, turn down the light, use what you have. What seems likely to in God's hands grows like stream from oil that flows.
Nothing is working. I've tried glue, tape, and even chewing gum. My cardboard bridge just won't stand.
And I tried to knit a scarf for Mr. Watchman, but I think I knitted myself into the scarf.
Sounds like today's theme arrived right on time. Being resourceful means thinking of more than one way to solve a problem.
Like having a plan B and maybe a plan C.
Exactly. And God often uses our creativity to help us find a new path when the old one doesn't work. Jesus had just returned to Capernaum, and the house where he was teaching was packed. No room inside, no space by the door. Just wall-to-wall people listening to him preach. 4 friends arrived, carrying a 5th friend who was paralyzed. They had one goal: get their friend to Jesus for healing. But they couldn't get through the crowd. They could have given up. They could have said, "We tried, maybe next time." But instead, they tried a different way. They climbed onto the roof of the house, dug a hole in it, and lowered their friend down right in front of Jesus. Jesus was moved by their faith. He healed the man completely.
That's some serious determination and creativity.
Sometimes the door is blocked, but God might be leading you to the roof. Something similar happened in a little town filled with busy people. There was a quiet back alley where a group of clever animals ran their secret club, the Animal Inventors Guild. They weren't wild animals. They were pets and pack animals with huge ideas. There was Mimo the mouse, who designed paper furniture. Pepper the parrot, who dreamed of flying kites that could carry notes. And Benny the bulldog, who just wanted to invent a way to reach the top shelf. One day the club was given a challenge: cross the creek behind the alley without getting wet. They had no bridge, no boat, no time to ask the humans. Mimo tried a leaf raft. It sank. Pepper flew across and tried to carry string back, but it tangled in her feathers. Benny stuck cans to walk across, but he slipped and landed in the mud. They failed, but they didn't give up. Instead, they worked together. Pepper flew the string across, Mimo used it to zipline a basket, and Benny steadied the thin line with his strength. Eventually, crossed the creek, not by trying the same thing twice, but by trying different things together. They learned that creativity isn't just about doing it better, it's about doing it differently.
Maybe I need to stop fixing my bridge the same way over and over. What if I try beating the middle first, not the sides?
I'm a resourceful ostrich.
Exactly. When things go wrong, try a new way. God gave us more than one idea for a reason.
Hi everyone. I have a verse from Ecclesiastes 11 verse 6. Sow your seed in the morning, and at evening let your hands not be idle, for you do not know which will succeed.
So, don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly. Try many things and trust God to bless the one that works. Time for a song.
If the door is blocked, don't quit the race. Maybe there's a window, maybe there's a space. If the plan you had begins to fall, try again, just try a different call. Try another way, don't give in today. God gave you a mind so bright. Keep walking till it's right. Try another way. You might just say this part was better. From bridges made with tape and thread to dreams that danced inside your head. God made you bold, God made you wise, so reach for Him and improvise.
So friends, the lesson today is: don't give up because one way didn't work. Be resourceful, be brave, and never give up.
Yes, Mr. Watchman. Try again, try different, and trust God through it all.
Hello kids, welcome to our wonderful question and answer session. Are you ready? 1. What does it mean to be resourceful? And how did the watchman show this in making craft? Being resourceful means using what you have in creative and thoughtful ways. The watchman showed this by turning scraps and old items into useful crafts instead of throwing them away. 2. In the story of the widow and Elisha, how did the woman show resourcefulness? She obeyed Elisha's instructions and used the little oil she had, pouring it into borrowed jars. Her willingness to try what seemed impossible allowed God to multiply her small resource. 3. What lesson do we learn from the 4 friends who brought the paralyzed man to Jesus? When they couldn't reach Jesus through the crowd, they didn't give up. They tried a new way of going through the roof. The story teaches us to keep trying different ways to solve problems. 4. Why was Naomi's frustration in the craft scene important for learning about resourcefulness? Naomi's frustration showed a common reaction when things don't work. But by thinking differently and trying a new method, she learned that there's more than one way to reach a goal. 5. What does Ecclesiastes 11 verse 6 teach us about trying many ways? It encourages us to be active and try different things because we don't know which one God will cause to succeed. 6. How did Zizi the squirrel learn to be more careful with her resources in the apartment animal story? After realizing how wastefulness affected everyone, she accepted help from others and learned new habits like conserving water and reusing materials. 7. Why is it important not to give up after failing once? Because failure often teaches us how not to do something, and that can lead us to a better solution. Trying again in a new way builds wisdom and creativity. 8. How did Naomi, Adefunke, and the watchman show that even small things can be valuable? They used scraps and old items to create craft, turned leftovers into learning, and shared stories that proved God often uses little things in big ways when we treat them with care. 9. What was the main message in the short song Try Another Way? That when one method doesn't work, we shouldn't quit. God gave us the ability to think differently, so we can keep trying until we find a way that works. So kids, hope you enjoyed our question and answer session. Until next time, bye.